Hi everyone, we're going to be reading some books by Dr. Seuss. Some books, as you know, or I should say most books by him are rhyming word books. And if you notice with rhyming words in poems, which is what his books are, they have the rhyming word of every other line. So at the end of that line, you're going to hear a rhyming word. And if you know Dr. Seuss, he makes up words. So he might make up a place that you've never heard of. He might make up an animal you've never heard of. A sound that you may not have heard of that's going to rhyme. And the book we're going to read today by him is If I Ran a Zoo. If I Ran the Zoo by Dr. Seuss. And as you can tell with the writing, you know, with Dr. Seuss, he is over like 100, I think it was 104 this year of celebrating his birthday. So 104 years ago, he was born. And during this past week, which was his birthday, the second, this past week, they call it Read Across America Day here in week in the United States, where they do a lot of Dr. Seuss things that are themed, and sometimes it goes all the way to the whole month for Dr. Seuss. And for some of you who do know me, you do know that I love Dr. Seuss and I love his books, and I know when I taught kids I would go all out with those kids with Dr. Seuss. So, let's start with If I Ran the Zoo. It's a pretty good zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, and the fellow who runs it seems proud of it too. But if I ran the zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, I'd make a few changes. That's just what I'd do. The lions and tigers and that kind of stuff they have up here now are not quite just good enough. You see, things like these is just any old zoo. They're awfully old-fashioned. I want something new. So I opened each cage. I'd unlocked every pen. Then the animals go and start over again. And somehow or other, I think I could find some beasts of as much more unusual kind. Let's find out what some unusual animals he's going to see. A four-footed lion's not much of a beast. The one in my zoo will have 10 feet at least. 5 legs on the left, 5 more on the right. Then people will stare and they'll say, what a sight. This zookeeper, new keeper Gerald's quite keen. That's the gall darnest lion I've ever seen. So he's got 5 right legs and 5 left legs. They don't have lions with 5 left legs and 5 right legs. My new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will make people talk. My new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will make people gawk at the strangest odd creatures they'd ever did walk. I'll get for my zoo a sort of a hen who roosts in another hen's top knot, and then another roosts in the top knot of his, and another in his, and another of his, and so forth, and so upward and onward. Gee whiz! But that's just a start. I'll do better than that. They'll see me next day in my zookeeper's hat, coming into the zoo with an elephant cat. An elephant cat? See, this is what I'm talking about, Dr. Seuss. He makes up some combined animals or just some just made up. They'll be so surprised they'll all swallow their gum. They'll ask when they see my strange animals come, Where do you suppose he gets those things like that from? His animals all have such very odd faces. I'll bet he must hunt them in rather odd places. And that's what I'll do, said young Gerald McGrew. If you want to catch beasts, you'll know you don't see every day. You have to go places quite out of the way. You have to go places no others can get to. You have to get cold and you have to get wet too. Up past the North Pole where the frozen wind squeals, I'll go and I'll hunt in my squeagle-mobile and bring back a family of what do you know? And that's how my new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will grow. I'll hunt in the mountains of Zumba Matant with helpers who all wear their eyes at a slant and capture a fine fluffy bird called a bustard who only eats custard with sauce made of mustard, and also a very fine beast called a flustered who only eats mustard with sauce made of custard. I'll catch them in caves and I'll catch them in brooks. I'll catch them in crannies. I'll catch them in nooks that you don't read about in geography books. I'll catch them in countries that no one can spell, like the country of Mata Fa Pata Fa Pel. And a country like that, if a hunter is clever, he'll hunt up some beast that you never saw ever. I'll load up 5 boats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whose feet are like cows, but wear squirrel-skin coats, and sit down like dogs who have voices like goats, except they can't sing the very high notes. And then I'll go down to the winds of Nantucket and capture a family of lunks in a bucket. When people will say, now I like that boy heaps. His new zoo, McGrew Zoo, is growing with leaps. He captures them wild, he captures them meek, he captures them slim, and he captures them sleek. What do you suppose he will capture next week? I'll capture one tiny, I'll capture one cute, I'll capture a deer that no hunter would shoot. A deer that's so nice and he could sleep in your bed if it weren't for those horns that he has on his head. Yeah, that would not be very comfortable if he slept in your bed. And speaking of horns that are just a bit queer, I'll bring back a very odd family of deer. A father, a mother, 2 sisters, and a brother, whose horns are connected from one to another. See, they're all intertwined up in there. Whose horns are so mixed they can't tell them apart, can't tell where they end, and can't tell where they start. Each deer's a mighty puzzle. He's never yet found if his horns are hers or the other way around. I'll capture them fat and I'll capture them scrawny. I'll capture a scraggly foot mulligany, a high-stepped animal fast in the wind from the blistery sands of the desert of Zend. This beast is the beast that the brave chieftains ride when they want to go fast to find some place to hide. A mulligany See, he makes up words and I get tongue-tied. A mulligatawani is fine for my zoo, and so if a chieftain, I'll bring one back too. When you do a lot of rhyming and you're reading out words and they rhyme and you're just rhyming, you get tongue-tied a lot. In the far west part of southeast North Dakota lives a very fine animal called an iota, but I'll capture one who is even much finer in the northeast west part of South Carolina. When people see him, they will say, now by thunder, This new zoo, McGrew Zoo, is really a wonder. I love his blue, fluffy hair. Most beasts are quite friendly, but still in some lands, some beasts are too dangerous to catch with a bare hand. For those who are ugly and vicious and mean, I'll build a bad animal catching machine. It's rather expensive to build such a kit, but with it, a hunter can never get bit. I'd say so with the long arm. He won't get bit by the animals. A zoo should have bugs, so I'll capture a thrill, whose legs are snarled up in a terrible snarl. And then I'll go out and I'll capture some chugs, some keen hooters, mean shooters, bean shooter bugs. I'll go to the Africa island of Yurka and bring back a tizzle-topped, tuffled mazooka. A kind of canary with quite a tall throat. His neck is so long if he swallows a note. For breakfast the first day of April, they say, it has to go down such a very long way that it gets to his stomach the 15th of May. They're saying if he eats something, it takes a really long time for it to get to his stomach. I'll bag a big bug who is very surprised, a fellow who has a propeller for rising, a zooming around making cross-country hops from Texas to Boston with only 2 stops. Now that sort of thing for a bug is just tops. And when I've caught him, then the next thing you know, I'll go and I'll capture a wild tic-tac-toe with the X that wins and a 0 that loses. He'll look mighty good in the zoo of McGrew's. I'll bring back a gazette, a gherkin, a gasket, and also a gooch from the wild of Nantasket. And 8 Persian princesses will carry the basket. But what their names are, I don't know, so don't ask it. In the cave of Khartoum lives a beast called a Natch that no other hunter's been able to catch. He's hiding for years in his cave with a pout, and no one's been able to make him come out. But I'll coax him out with a wonderful meal that's cooked by my cooks in my cooker mobile. They'll fix up a dish that is just to his taste. 3 chicken croquettes made by library paste. They sprinkled with peanuts, shucks, pickled and spiced, then baked at 600 degrees and then iced. It's mighty hard cooking to cook up such feasts, but that's how the new zoo, McGrew's Zoo, gets beasts. I'd say so. If you got a cook that wants to cook up some really good meals, that's a way to get some animals coming. And you get a way to get some people coming too. I'll go to the faraway mountains to Tapas, near the river of Knots, and I'll bring back an ops, a sort of kind of thingamaboss, who only eats rhubarb and corn on the cobs. Then people will flock to my zoo, and I mobs, McGrew, they'll say, does a wonderful jobs. He hunts with such vim, and he hunts with such vigor. His new zoo, McGrew Zoo, gets bigger and bigger. And speaking of birds, there's a Russian Poluski, whose headski is redski and belly is blueski. I'll get one from them from my Zooski McGrewski. Then the whole town will gasp, why, this boy never sleeps. No keeper before ever kept what he keeps. There's no telling what that young fellow will do. And then, just to show them, I'll sail to Katroo and bring back, and it crucked a creep, a preep, and a prue. A nurgle, a nerd, and a seersucker too. I'll bring in the jungles of Hippo no Hungus, and I'll bring back a flock of wild Bippo no Bungus. The Bippo no Bungus from Hippo no Hungus, and better than those down in Dippo no Dungus, and smarter than those out of Nippo no Nungus, and that's why I'll catch 'em in Hippo no Hungus, instead of those others in Nungus and Bungus. And people will say when they see these bips bounding, this zookeeper will new keepers simply astounding. He travels so far that you'd think he would drop. When do you suppose this young fellow will stop? McGrew just keeps going and going and finding all these animals. Stop! Well, I should, but I won't stop until I've captured a Fuzza Mazibba Zimadil, the world's largest bird from the island of Grok, who only eats pine trees and spits out the bark. And boy, when I get him back home to my park, this whole world will say, young McGrew's made his mark. He's built a zoo better than Noah's whole ark. These wonderful, marvelous beasts that he chooses have made him the greatest of all the McGrewses. I am getting some tongue twisters on this book. Wow, they all cheered. What is zoo must be worth? How much do you think his zoo is worth? It's the gall darnest zoo on the face of the earth. Yes, that's what I'll do, said young Gerald McGrew. I'd make a few changes if I ran the zoo. So what would you do if you ran the zoo? So moms, dads, parents, teachers, ask your children, what would you have them do? Ask them, what would you do if you ran a zoo? How would you change things? What kind of animals you would put in there? And that's a great activity for them to do. For those kids who can't write, you can write it down to them, or you can just talk with them if they're really little kids, and see if they can come up with some actual animals that we do have. And for those who are a little bit older students or younger or older children that you have, you can ask them to make up some animals and try to get them to rhyme, like maybe where they came from, and have them both rhyme. You can get a little more complicated as you get students or your child who has a higher IQ. You can get more complex and make them rhyme with made-up words, and make their sentences. They have to write out a sentence and have it make it a little bit longer, not such a short sentence. So as they get a little bit older in grades, or you just have a child who's really smart, that is a way you could spend some time with them after reading If I Ran the Zoo. If you guys would, please check the likes on this video. Click on my subscription to the YouTube channel. Please share my YouTube channel with other people who are around kids at some point in time. I do try to put up videos, at least a couple of them once a week. Sometimes I might skip a week because I've got a lot of things going on. However, please check the links below. I do have links to the Facebook page that is catered to just this YouTube channel. There, I let you know when I've put out videos. I have things with my small business where I actually hand make things that relate to the books, such as, like you've got earrings. These are for like thing 1 and thing 2. So from like Dr. Seuss books, I do the t-shirts, and another video when I'm reading one of the books I've made a t-shirt. So if you like that t-shirt, or you want me to make certain t-shirts, I can do that as well. So my business page is also in the links below. and places where I do sell some of these items that you can buy through other third-party places online that you can buy them from. Now, what you're looking at here, obviously I have a Dr. Seuss backdrop here. And like I said, this is Dr. Seuss. As you can tell, this is the Lorax. And I have built this 3.5 foot 3, if some of you guys know from the Lorax, these are called truffle trees. So hopefully, if you're seeing this video, give me, you know, a few days to post a video of actually how to make this. And at some point in time throughout the next couple of months, I'm going to be showing you how to make even the smaller ones, and they're more easy and less expensive to make these. These are very expensive. So I also have a link to my business page YouTube channel, but that is just strictly for how to do certain crafts. I don't have a lot of videos up there yet because I stay busy all the time. But I will be starting putting videos up there of how to make certain crafts. If you're ever interested on doing different crafts, and you can message me if you want me to do a craft, you want me to read a book, go to the Facebook channel of this YouTube channel, let me know, and I will try to find that book. I'll even give a shout out to the child that wants me to read a certain book. I will do that in the video as well. So, you all check those links out below, and you all have a good evening. Bye.